kind of a little bit more of an intense miniatures game. But I will...
Intense! Oh my gosh.
Look at this. This is adventures
You're really selling
Marvel.
it. There's a lot on the line here for sure. Because
Absolutely.
we've got Ultron and his cronies trying to take over the city. The Avengers have assembled. They're trying to save the city. So you're right. It's a lot. But we're just going to have fun. We're going to have a nice, relaxed, good time. We're learning how to play.
With villains.
With villains and
against each
heroes.
other.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So this is Marvel Crisis Protocol. It is a tabletop hobby miniatures game, and what that means is that you, as the player, not only get to play awesome games on tabletops like this that you create and build, you also get to build and paint your miniatures. So each of these comes basically like a unclassed, like if you've ever seen a model airplane kit or a model car kit, similar idea. It comes on a frame, you clip off the parts, you get to assemble them together, and then you get to try your hand at painting them. So you can paint them any way you want. You can do classics colors like we've done here. You can make crazy colors. I've seen everything from pink and magenta rainbow, with glitter, all the way to people theming things around their favorite moments in comics.
That's amazing.
Everything. So one of the really cool things about an experience like this is it's more than a game. It's very much a lifestyle hobby where you get to advance skills in many different aspects. So you get to become a better game player, you get to become a better artist, you get to become a better builder, and all these cool things that you kind of get to advance in. Today we're just going to demo, and I'm going to show you how the game plays. We're going to go through kind of a few turns, a few activations. We're going to talk generally about some of the rules. I'm not going to get super in-depth into timing charts and stuff. That's boring. We're just going to kind of give you a feel for how the action goes, so you have a sense of the general gameplay.
Perfect.
So the first big thing to note is that every character in the game has a stat card. So the stat card is basically how the character is defined from the comic book page to the tabletop.
Awesome.
Every character in Marvel Crisis Protocol is a snapshot of that character from some point in their Marvel history. So this is not the only Captain America that ever existed. This is Captain America as he was as the first Avenger. So very much as a stalwart leader of the Avengers, somebody who is willing to get into the center of the mix and lead his team to victory.
Okay.
With a stat card, the most important bits are you have this box here, which kind of gives you generalized stats. So you're going to have 3 defenses. Attacks in Crisis Protocol, which we'll talk about later as we get into the game, are broken down into 3 distinct types. There's physical, which is punches, kicks. There's energy, which is cosmic blasts and things. And then there's mystic. And mystic is kind of the magic, the psychic powers, all of that, crazy stuff.
Okay.
The unnatural energies of
The Doctor
things.
Strange.
Exactly, the Doctor Strange. So every hero has 3 of those stats. They also have a stamina value. This is how much damage they can take. One of the really cool things about Crisis Protocol compared to some other games is that every character basically has 2 lives. So the first time a character takes damage equal to its stamina, at the end of the round it flips from its healthy side to its injured side.
That's
they come back. And they typically come back with a lot of power, which we'll talk about in a second, which lets them do a lot of stuff. So they have a little bit of a snapback mechanic.
Wow.
When a character on its injured side takes damage equal to its stamina, it is finally KO'd and it's removed from the table. The other big thing that stat cards give you is they give you the character's speed, its threat value, which kind of tells you when you're building your squads for battle how many threat value you get of the character, and the size. On this side here, you have all of the really chunky information. So you have their attacks and their superpowers. Like we talked about with attacks, there's 3 different types of attacks. And we'll talk about how those work exactly. But of course, attacks are the bread and butter of the game. You're going to be beating each other up, shooting each other with energy blasts or plasma beams, punching each other, unibeaming, all that great stuff. Then down here you have superpowers. So of course, every character in Marvel is an extraordinary individual. They have training, they have gamma mutate powers, they have all this crazy stuff. Crisis Protocol breaks those ideas down into 3 distinct types. There's active powers, which only happen on your turn. There's reactive powers, which happen to a triggering event. And then there are innate powers, and innate powers are always on. They're just aura abilities that are always consistent. The superpowers themselves tell you what they do. And more specifically, in this game, we're going to talk about a resource that's really important. So if you ever played classic fighting games, there's a lot of inspiration in Crisis Protocol from those. And one of the big things is that characters generate a resource called power. So if you're familiar with other fighting games like Marvel vs. Capcom and stuff, you can think about meter, or energy or things like that.
Yeah.
But power in the game is the primary resource. So throughout the course of the game, as characters deal damage and take damage, they're going to gain power, which they can then spend on either their super attacks or to utilize their super abilities, so their superpowers themselves. You'll see here, this is the power cost for these abilities.
Okay.
So that's how much power you would have to spend in order to access the abilities.
Okay.
And the thematic idea behind this is that when you watch the shows, or you read the comics, the superheroes never start out like with their biggest attack. They always have to build to it, right? It has to be that climactic moment. So you get that ebb and flow in Crisis Protocol through the system. It also means that you as the player get to make a lot of choices with how your characters activate because you're determining when and how you want to spend that limited resource of power.
Very cool.
So that's how the stat cards work. To really quickly go over missions in Crisis Protocol, the goal of the game is to reach 16 victory points before your opponent. So you have 6 rounds to do it.
Okay.
We're going to start at round 1. The way you score victory points is determined by your crisis cards. So Marvel Crisis Protocol, the game is all about crises. You build a crisis mission out of 2 different crisis cards. There's an extract one, which are things you're going to go grab and pick up and try to hold on to. So like capture the flag kind of things.
Yeah.
And then there are secures. Now these are zones that you want to control.
Okay.
So think about like camping in the enemy circle and trying to turn it to your color.
Right.
For each of these objectives that you control at the end of a round, you're going to score a certain number of points based on the card. Now one of the really fun things is, of course, the game is all about theme. It's about telling that story. So these objectives all have their own special rules depending on the mission that you're playing. So for example, we have Struggle for the Cube Continues. These little red tokens here are going to be our cosmic cube fragment. So of course we want to reassemble the cosmic cube for ourselves.
Makes sense.
For every token that somebody holds with that, at the end of the round, they're going to take some damage, but then they're also going to gain some power. So the cosmic cube kind of fuels you, but it also hurts you.
Yeah.
And then with the Riot Spark over Extremis 3.0, these blue tokens are Extremis consoles. So during the turn, a character can like push the buttons, and they can be healed by the Extremis. And so that's some of the ways in which the unique aspects of those crisis cards play out.
That's
now,
awesome.
when we come to the table, you and I would both choose one of our cards and we would play it. Okay. You would play maybe a secure, I would play the extract, or vice versa.
Okay.
So we're only in control of half of what's going on.
Gotcha.
And even then, we're drawing from a deck of cards that we brought.
Okay.
So you never quite know what you're going to get when it comes to your mission, and that allows you to adapt and be very flexible, and it plays into how you build your squad, which we'll probably talk about at the end. So I've yammered enough, let's get into the action, because we need things to do. So the first thing that happens in a round is called the power-up phase. So in this phase, you're just going to grab one little green power token for each of your characters, and you're going to place one on each character. So at the start of every round, every character basically gets a free power.
Right.
So this means that even if I was being mean and ignoring a character and being like, I don't want to play with you, at some point they would still have enough power to utilize all their abilities, and then they would be a problem. There are some other things that happen in the power phase, but that's really the most important bit. Okay. So from here, we're going to move to the meat of the game, which is the activation phase.
Okay.
In the activation phase, you and I are going to take turns. On each of our turns, we get to activate one of our characters. You can only activate a character once per round. So once you've chosen a character to activate and use their activation, they're done for the round.
Right.
I'm going to go ahead and choose Captain America because he's a leader. He leads from the front. He's going to do his stuff.
Okay.
So my first goal here with Cap is to grab this objective token and pick up this cosmic cube fragment.
Okay.
So that I can start scoring some points.
Yes.
So what I do is I say I'm going to need to move.
Yes.
And the way movement works in Crisis Protocols, we have these cool little movement tools. So there's a short, a medium, and a long. I don't know where my short went, but it's fine. Aha! Thank you, kind sir. Cameraman and gentleman.
He's a helper.
Exactly. So we have short, medium, and long. If you look at your stat card in that stat block, you can see that Captain America has speed medium, so he uses the medium tool.
That makes sense.
Movement in Crisis Protocol is really simple. You simply take the tool, you place it base to base with the character. You can bend the knuckle however you want if you need to go around corners or whatever. And then you pick up the character, you place it anywhere touching the tool. So I can place him here, I could place him here, right? As long as the base touches the tool, I'm good to go.
That's really neat. Especially having the pivot point.
Yeah,
Because I played other games where it's all linear and you want to be able to have that.
So it really opens up possibilities and makes like the movement clean and quick. Which is what we want, because we want to get to the action. Now, let's just say, for example, this was set up. I think the last people didn't set this up quite right, but it's fine. So now I want to see if I can pick up this token. So I've cheated a little bit. I want to cheat a little bit more for the sake of our demo. In order to interact with the token, you have to be within range 1 of it. And so when you measure range, there's a bunch of these handy dandy tools. Again, trying to make things very simple. And they're numbered 2 through 5.
Yeah.
So you'll see as we start talking about attacks, they'll have a range, which is a number, and that's the tool you'll use.
Okay.
Whenever you measure something in Crisis Protocol, you simply take the appropriate tool, place it touching the character's base, and then measure to whatever you want to see that you're going to.
Sure.
If your tool touches their base, basically, they're within range. So, for example, Iron Man is currently within range 3 of Captain America.
Okay.
But any of your characters are way out.
Yes.
Right? So, interacting is range 1, which is the end of the tool. So, the end of any tool is range 1.
Okay.
So, I can interact with that because I'm within range 1 after all the cheating for the demo. That's why my demos are my favorite thing. To interact costs a power. It's not an action. So, this is not going to use up my other action for the turn.
Okay.
So, I'm going to spend my power. I'm going to pick up this Cosmic Cube fragment. I place it on Captain America's card. Now, assuming we get to the end of the round and he still has that, I'll score a point.
Okay.
I have one action left.
Yes.
I would love to attack, which is the other primary action you really want to do. However, my range is only 3 on my shield bounce, and I can already see that I have nobody to attack.
You're not over here.
So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go run towards this token, and I'm going to try to secure it. So we're going to pop over here and see if we can't secure that token.
Next turn?
Yep. Or maybe for the end of the round. I'm going to be a little out, it looks like, because I'm not within range 1, but it was worth a try.
Okay.
So with that done, I've done my 2 actions. If I had power to spend for superpowers on my card that I thought I could use, or that would be useful, I could do that too, because they're not actions. However, I don't have any of those, so I'm just going to place this little activated mark next to Cap, so that we remember he's gone.
Sure.
And it's going to be your turn.
Okay.
So what we're going to do, just to kind of get mixed up, is we're going to go ahead and activate Red Skull.
Okay.
Because he sees Herr Rogers, and he has to go like say hi to his old friend. So the first thing you want to do is move him medium. So just move him towards this token in Captain America.
Okay. So end of the base, roughly. End of the base.
Perfect.
Done. We're in range.
You're in range, so you can spend your 1 power to pick that up.
Okay. Done.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to make an attack.
Oh.
So what's going to happen here is Captain America is going to be like, I moved this far because that's how this works. So we're just going to do this.
Oh, we're about to fight.
That's right. So you'll look at Red Skull's card. You'll see that he has 2 attacks.
Those being
right
these?
here, yep. This one. So you have Cosmic Blast and Reality Bows to Me.
Yep.
Now Reality Bows to Me costs 4 power, and we don't have any power currently, so we can't do that one. So instead, we're going to do Cosmic Burst.
Okay.
And we want to do this one because you'll see in the special rules here as we talk about it, this actually gains you power if you deal damage with it. So it's fantastic. This is what we typically call a builder. So that's its name, that's its type. One of the neat things about this attack, though, is that it has this special rule that says you can choose whether it's an energy or a mystic.
Okay.
Because he's using the power of the Cosmic Cube, which is reality warping. Now,
Sure.
Captain America, looking at his defenses, he has 4 energy defense, but he only has 3 mystic defense.
Okay.
So you want to choose to use this as a mystic attack because I'm weaker against that.
Right.
So we've declared that it's going to be a mystic attack.
Yep.
Now we look, it has a range of 4.
Yep.
So we take
We're
our
in
range
range.
tool and we check, and we're definitely in range.
Yep.
The barbell is the strength. So it's strength 5. That means that you're going to roll 5 of those red dice.
Okay.
And then last but not least, we see that as a power cost of 0, so we can use it without spending
Right. Makes sense.
So you're going to take 5 attack dice. I'm going to take 3 defense dice. We're going to
Okay.
go ahead and just shake them up and roll them really quick, and then we'll talk about the results.
Oh no. Sorry, Chuck.
It's all right. It'll survive.
Okay.
Okay, so talking about the dice results. The first result, and the one you always want to look for, is crits. Criticals are always successes on attack and defense.
Sure.
And for every critical you have in your first roll, the first time you roll dice, you get to add an extra die. So if you roll additional criticals after that, you don't get to add more dice, but they do explode once. The next symbol is wilds. Wilds are successes for both attack and defense.
Okay.
And wilds typically have some kind of effect on character attacks, so they trigger things. So if you rolled a wild, you would get wild shock.
Right. Okay.
We have hits. Hits are always successes on attacks, and you rolled a couple of those.
Yep.
We have blanks. Blanks are just sad nothings. It's unfortunate. We have blocks. Blocks are always successes for defense.
Oh, okay.
And then we have fails. Fails are never successes, and worst of all, you can't modify them. So you can't change their face, and you can't reroll them with any of your abilities.
Jeez.
So you definitely don't want fails.
No.
So looking over here, I did pretty well. I have a crit, a block, and a hit. I would get to roll an extra one for my crit, and I would have a blink. You have currently 2 hits, but through the magic of the demo,
can we pretend I rolled well?
we're going to pretend that you rolled phenomenally.
Woo.
So we got this.
That's even better.
What happens then is that we compare your successes versus my successes. So attacker versus defender. I have 2 successes, so I remove 2 of yours.
Okay.
And that leaves 3.
Yep.
For every success the attacker has left over, they deal 1 point of damage.
Okay.
So Captain America will take 3 points of damage. Now, whenever a character takes damage from an enemy effect, so typically an attack or if you throw a building into me, which you're going to do in a second, spoiler alert, they gain 1 point of power. So Captain America also is going to gain 3 power.
Okay.
Now, your attack has a couple of special abilities that we're going to resolve.
Okay.
The first one is, for each point of damage you deal with it, you gain a power. So you can grab 3 power and put it on Red Skull.
Nice.
Perfect.
Fancy 3.
And then you have Wild Shock.
Yes.
So because you rolled the Wild, you get to inflict Captain America with the Shock special condition. And what Shock does is it's a negative status effect that effectively makes him worse at attacking. So next round, if I don't get rid of that effect, I'm not going to be as efficient throwing my shield in your face.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so you've done your 2 actions.
Yes.
Normally, you would have no more actions left. However, we talked about how superpowers are not necessarily actions. You have a superpower in there called Reshape the World. So go ahead and read that really quick.
Choose an interactive terrain feature of size 3 or less within range 3 and throw it medium length.
You got
this superpower can only be used once per turn.
Okay, so what's a superhero battle without terrain that goes flying around that you can throw into people and destroy?
That's so cool.
Right? So in Marvel Crisis Protocol, if the terrain's not nailed down to the board,
you can use
it as a weapon.
Oh, snap.
If you have an ability to let you do it. So Red Skull does. Now, lucky enough, because of your amazing roll, you generated 3 power. And the cost to use
is 3 power.
So we're going to spend 3 power to use Reshape the World. Every terrain piece in Crisis Protocol has a size value to it.
Okay.
Everything on this table is size 3 currently.
Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and pick this coffee stand, which is within range 3, and we're going to throw it at Cat. Now, normally in the game, when you throw terrain at somebody, you pick it up and it just gets destroyed off the table. Okay. Also, if you want to see the numbers right there.
Okay.
Yeah. But, it's always more fun to kind of like play it out.
Oh, absolutely.
So when you throw something, you take the appropriate size movement tool. In this case, you throw it medium. You make it perfectly straight. You place it touching your character, and then the first thing that gets contacted by that tool gets hit with the thing.
Cool.
So even though we've abstracted it, in reality, he picks it up with some cosmic energy and then he just hurls it into Captain America.
So fun.
If a character gets hit by terrain or another character, because you can throw other characters as well.
Of course you can.
Of course you can. It's Marvel Comics. Come on, that's part and parcel of the deal. The character who gets collided with takes damage equal to the thing that hits them size plus 1. So Cap's just going to take 4 damage. So think of it like an attack that you don't have to roll dice for. You just have 4 successes.
Yeah.
Now Captain America is not just going to stand there and take this without trying to do anything.
Not at all.
So he's going to try to dodge or block with a shield or brace or whatever.
Okay.
When a character has a terrain or a character thrown into them, they get to make a dodge roll.
Okay.
A dodge roll uses the physical defense, and it's pretty much like a defense roll. So I get to roll extra dice for crits, and I'm looking for blocks, wilds, and crits to cancel your successes.
Makes sense.
So I'm going to roll. I got pretty good. Cap doesn't.
Yes.
He doesn't want it. All right. So we got a total of 3 successes.
Yes.
So you dealt 4 damage. So I'm going to take 1 more damage.
Right.
I will gain 1 power from that as well. So ouch, but not the worst. I got scalded by a little coffee. At this point, Red Skull, I think you spent 1 to pick that up, right?
Yes.
So that goes on your card.
Oh, thank you.
And at this point, you have no more power, so you can't really use any of your other abilities.
Right.
So your turn would be over, so we grab your little check mark.
He's
Place
been
an extra
activated
character.
and done.
All right, so I don't really like what you just did to my buddy. So what I'm going to do
That was so cool.
is we're going to have Iron Man go. he's gonna zippy fly over to here. Now my range is only 4, so unfortunately I can't get to Red Skull. But there's this other thing in Marvel Crisis Protocol. They're called Team Tactic cards. So these represent the powerful once per game abilities of characters like teaming up to do something cool, right?
Okay.
We're gonna use this Repulsor Refraction. So we've all seen that moment where Iron Man shoots Captain America's shield and Captain America reflects it into somebody else. I'm gonna do that in the game.
That's not good for me.
So I say I'm gonna play this Team Tactic card. We see that Invincible Iron Man has to be within range 4 of Captain America First Avenger, which I am. Now each character has to spend 1 power to do this. So I'm gonna spend a power off of both of them. And now because I've done that, Iron Man gets to make the Ricochet Rampage attack listed above. So when I make this attack, I get to measure my range from Cap instead of Iron Man.
Okay. In range.
And because this is a beam attack, if I could manage to catch other characters under the template, I would get to attack each of them. I'm only going to get Red Skull this time, but it's good enough for me. So I have Repulsor Refracted. I'm going to go ahead and roll my attack with Iron Man. I get 5 dice. It's energy, so you're going to look at Red Skull's energy defense.
That would be... Okay, which one?
The yellow one.
Yellow, thank you. 3.
All right, so I'm going to roll. I got 2 hits, 1 crit, so I'm going to roll for my crit. I got another crit, but remember, I don't get to roll extra dice afterwards.
So many crits.
So I've got 4 successes.
I've got 1.
You have 0, because remember, you're defending,
you're
so you're
right.
looking for blocks.
That's right.
Blocks, crits, and wilds when you're defending. So
Yes.
you're going to take 4 damage.
Ooh,
and
not
you're going
good.
to gain 4 power, because for each damage you take from an enemy effect, you gain a power.
So that hits him like down, right? And he's gonna flip?
Not yet, because
No?
I think so if you look at his stamina value, he has 6.
Oh, okay. I was looking at the wrong
Yeah,
one.
so his stamina is 6.
Okay.
So he has 2 left,
got 2
so
left.
he's woozy, but he's still there.
Yes.
And then Iron Man is basically done. He has no power or anything else to do, so I would put a check mark to him. So you can go ahead and pick 1 more character to run through, and then...
Ooh, I think we gotta go Doc Ock. I love
right,
him.
yeah, I like
this looks beautiful. Gotta do it. Okay, so he moves medium, which is somewhere up here. And then, can my people do any of the fun things that you just did?
You have... I think
Oh,
you
they're
have
over
a
here.
couple of tactic cards here. So... You can't do this one yet because it requires fewer VPs. This one would take 3 power, but you could have... So this has to be played during your turn, but it doesn't have to be played by the character who's doing it.
Oh,
So you
okay.
could conceivably pay 3 power here, and then play this card on like Captain America, and this card would allow you to reroll all of your attack dice
Okay.
if you were using a Cabal character. Now the downside is that only Zemo, Crossbones, and Red Skull are Cabal. Doc Ock's just along for the ride.
That makes sense.
So
was worth
you don't have any
looking.
options right now,
Yes.
but in the future you definitely could be able to utilize that.
Okay. So he's gonna move.
However, I think you're going to get an opportunity to throw something else
Yeah.
into Captain America.
Yeah, I think that Doc Ock is gonna like do a thing.
Yeah.
So I have 1
So-
energy.
Yep. So I think if we look at the tentacles, range
Yes.
3,
Yep.
and it costs 0.
Yep.
We also have Arm Lasers 2.0, which is beam 4 and cost 0.
Right.
So you can do either of those. The tentacles are probably your better bet because they roll more dice, so you have more likelihood of generating more power.
Okay. Let's do that.
All right, sounds great. So Captain America, before you roll your dice, is going to go ahead and spend 2 power. And I'm going to use a reactive ability called Perfect Block. So I'm going to take the shield and I'm going to brace against you.
That's cool.
What that means is that instead of rolling 4 dice, I get to add 2 dice to my roll. So I'm going to roll 6 dice.
And you're already rolling crits against me? Oh, man.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't roll super great. So I got 3.
I got 1.
You have 1 wild,
Yep.
but I think you have a special rule on your tentacles for wilds.
This character... Oh, wait, wrong one. When making this attack, each wild in the attack roll counts as 2 successes. Well, that's convenient.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
All right. So it looks like you somehow were amazing and you rolled 3 wilds
Oh, man.
for 6
so that'd be
successes.
6.
I know. It's so many. I'm going to cancel 3 of them.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take 3 damage. But that's going to put me down because I only have 6 stamina. So poor Cap is going to become dazed. So we're going to put a dazed token next to him so we know.
Sure.
Now at the end of the round, I'm going to remove all the damage from him. I'm not going to remove my power. I'll flip him over to injured, and he gets to get back up and start fighting again.
Okay.
So he's going to have plenty of power to be able to do stuff with next round.
Okay.
And that's kind of like the snapback mechanic for characters.
Yeah.
If you hadn't dazed him, now Doc Ock does get power for damage dealt, so you're going to get 3 power.
Okay. Ooh,
And there might be something on there that you want to use, like he's got a throw with Doc's what is it called? Doc's Ox Grasp.
Oh, these ones.
But you don't really have anyone to throw stuff at. You could have thrown this like little dump truck at me.
Yeah.
But you knocked me down with the arms.
Yeah, you know, I think it was good.
It was
like it
right,
seemed
yeah.
worth.
Yeah, it worked out. It worked out.
Awesome. So then I still.
So you moved and you attacked.
Yeah.
And you don't really have anything else that you can do superpower wise.
No. So he's done.
So at that point, yeah, you would be complete. Now, one thing before we were done is that Captain America was holding this objective token. When a character gets dazed or KO'd, the objective token pops out, and the opposing player gets to place it within range 2 of the character that dropped it.
Oh.
So before Doc Ock ends, you can plop it next to him, and he can pick it up.
On the next turn.
No, on his turn. Before it ends, because it's not an action. You just have to have a power, which you do.
Yes.
So you can spend one of your powers, and you can pick up the token. As you knock it out of his hands,
Awesome.
he falls to the ground, you pick up the token, and now you have both the Cosmic Cube tokens.
And this
It
just
goes on his
right on
card.
the okay.
To remind you that he's the one who's holding it.
Makes sense.
So we would continue doing that back and forth. Eventually we get to the end of the round.
Yes.
We go to the cleanup phase. During the cleanup phase, we'd count all of the objectives we control. So you would get 2 points for your Cosmic Cube fragments. If anyone was controlling one of these by having a character within range 1 of it, the most healthy characters within range 1 controls it.
Okay.
We would gain points, so for instance, you would score 2 in this instance, and I would score 1, so
Okay.
maybe I'm controlling that.
Yep.
And we would continue until somebody got to 16, or we hit round 6. At the end of round 6, whoever had the most points would win.
Makes sense. Wow. That's so fun, and it's not even like, it looks more intimidating, I think, than it is, you know what I mean?
There's a bit of text, and it takes, to play really efficiently, you do want to know what your characters do.
Absolutely.
But for the most part, yeah, it's very simple, straightforward. Like, think like a superhero, roll dice, have a great time.
Love that you get to throw terrain.
Yeah.
That is so fun. Or like throwing each other or using, like the team. Like that's so thematic, but it's so cool.
Yeah, we really wanted to capture again like that big climactic battle in the comics or in the media where the heroes and the villains come together. Now, talking about how you construct your squads and stuff,
Yeah.
one of the really cool things, we talk about heroes and we have our villains and our heroes.
Yeah.
But in Crisis Protocol, when you build your Marvel team, you can choose anybody you want. You can mix and match villains. You can mix and match anyone you want.
Okay.
What you do for building lists in the game is you choose 10 characters. So the core set comes with 11. So you already have a full roster that you get to actually make some choices with.
Yeah.
You choose your 10 characters, and then when you come to the table and you create your mission using your crisis cards, this number here tells you how many points or how much threat you get to use for the mission. So then you go back to your rosters and you choose characters up to that threat value. So for instance, each of our characters on both sides add up to 17 threat.
Makes sense.
And that means that you always have kind of like a chance to react to what your mission is going to be. Choose the characters that you think are going to be best. You also get to pick team tactic cards out of your roster. So you get to bring 10 of those and bring 5. So there's a little bit of strategy and thought and flexibility involved
Right.
when you come to the table so that you can manage the crisis the best. And the fun thing is that you get to like kind of build your dream teams.
Yeah.
There are benefits for building within like certain affiliations. So for example, you were playing Cabal
Yeah.
and I was playing Avengers.
Yep.
So we get access to certain team tactic cards. Characters like Captain America and Red Skull have special leadership abilities that apply during games when you play with them. So there's a lot of different like ways to support playing more in theme
Yeah.
or playing exactly what your dream team is
Yeah.
for flexibility.
You can be like, okay, today we're just gonna do regular Avengers. Then you can be like, now I'm gonna do my Avengers.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's awesome. Where can you get this? What comes in the core set?
So the core set we played with here is the new Earth's Mightiest core set. It is replacing our original core set that we released 4 years ago, so it's updated in about every way.
Yeah.
The only thing that did change was the dice, actually. It's going to be available in October.
Okay.
However, the game is currently available now at hobby retailers. So if you want to dive in, you can get affiliation packs, which kind of gets you a start on like your favorite team. For example, as Guardians, Spider Foes, Web Warriors. Of course, that's always a great place to start because it gives you a full 10 character roster, everything you need to play, including the dice and the tools and stuff. But again, the new one will be out in October. So.
And then the only thing you have to do is paint them.
Build them and paint them and make them your own. Exactly. Make your own cool, awesome shelf display.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for this demo. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you guys. We'll see you next time.